What is it about missing a phone that can make your heart race? Why do certain patterns or textures make your skin crawl? And why does the deep blue sea feel more like a threat than a luxurious getaway? Hi, I'm Kyle Kittleson with MedCircle, and if any of this sounds uncomfortably familiar, welcome to the world of phobias, where the everyday can turn into an adrenaline-pumping horror movie. Today, we're diving into 3 surprisingly common phobias that you probably haven't heard of. However, you might be able to sympathize with the distress that people often feel in these scenarios. But first, a quick reminder on what makes a phobia different from a normal fear. Fear is a rational reaction to a potentially dangerous threat, but phobias are irrational fears where the anxiety outweighs the threat. Now let's start with a phobia that's becoming more and more common. Picture this. You're leaving your house and suddenly you realize you left your phone at home. Your chest tightens, your palm sweats, and your brain spirals into full-blown panic. What if someone texts me? Or what if I get lost? What if I can't listen to the new Wicked movie soundtrack on my walk to the car? That would be my nightmare for sure. If you haven't seen Wicked, oh my gosh, so good. Anyway, you go back inside to look for your phone, even if it takes hours to find. This type of reaction could be nomophobia, which is fittingly short for no mobile phone phobia. Nomophobia is the intense fear of being without your phone or out of network coverage. It's not just an inconvenience, it's like losing a lifeline. People with nomophobia might feel anxious, irritable, or even physically ill if they're separated from their phone. Now, many of us joke about not being able to live without our phones, but there's actually some truth to that. Multiple studies and surveys from all over the world since 2008 have found that about 60% of participants had at least moderate signs of nomophobia. Participants were mostly adolescents and young adults. Nomophobia isn't just about being too online. It stems from a combination of things. One, a dependence on technology. Our phones have become extensions of ourselves, our calendars, our maps, even our friends and entertainment all in one. 2, a fear of disconnection. For many, the idea of missing out or being unreachable is genuinely distressing. 3, reinforcement loops. The more we rely on our phones, the more anxious we feel without them, creating a vicious cycle. And finally, social anxiety. Our phones are security blankets when we're faced with uncomfortable social situations. But there is good news. You don't have to go off the grid and toss your phone into the woods. There are lots of treatment options. One is cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT. CBT helps break the negative thought patterns associated with phone separation. Number 2, digital detoxing. Start small, like no phones at dinner, or go big with a weekend offline. And don't forget about mindfulness practices. Out of all my interviews with doctors all over the world, mindfulness comes up again and again. You can learn more about mindfulness and how to start your mindfulness journey at medcircle.com. A few years ago, MedCircle interviewed Dr. Hillary Cash, who is a founding member and chief clinical officer at Restart Life, a treatment program for digital addiction. Here's a look how this treatment program helps with digital detoxing.
In both the adolescent and the adult programs, when they come, they're living in the country and it's rural. It's very beautiful and it's a small community of people. So it's not in any way institutional. It's much more sort of family style because we want them to feel comfortable, and they are all socially anxious pretty much when they arrive. So the adults, they have a combination of some days spent at the ranch initially, and then they transition to a different locale that's also rural. They're taking care of animals at the ranch, but they are also coming into our center, which is in an urban location in Bellevue. And there they're doing group therapy, individual therapy, but they're also having a good time with the clients who are in the transition program who are also showing up at the center. They're just, having a pleasant time. We want them to rediscover that life can actually be pretty satisfying without screens.
If a residential program isn't the best fit, the easiest thing to do is to find a support group.
Don't try to solve it in isolation. Get support, get 12-step meeting support. There are online groups for internet and technology addicts for Anonymous, for Gamers Anonymous. At the bare minimum, find a 12-step meeting.
The next time you're tempted to doom scroll, consider it an opportunity to practice being in the moment. And now that you've put your phone down, your hands have room to hold other items. But for some people, they will absolutely not be holding objects with clusters of small holes or bumps. Think honeycombs, coral, or even the bubbles on pancakes. Do these make you squirm? If your skin starts crawling and you feel like screaming, you might have trypophobia.
Y'all, if you got trypophobia, do not look. Don't look. I like to push myself to my limits because I don't like that I have a phobia. And so, especially something as weird as this one.
People with trypophobia often report a visceral, gut-level reaction like disgust, anxiety, or even nausea when looking at clustered patterns. It's not a fear of the holes themselves. It's a strange, almost alien-like appearance that seems to hijack your brain's fight or flight response. According to a 2024 study conducted by University of Essex psychology professor Jeff Cole, 10 to 18% of the adult population experience some form of anxiety when viewing clusters with small holes. It's more common than you think, yet oddly under-researched compared to other phobias. Researchers theorize that trypophobia could be an evolutionary response to danger. Some toxic animals, like certain snakes or frogs, have patterns that resemble clustered holes. Our ancestors might have been wired to avoid anything that even remotely resembled danger. There's also the gross factor. Clusters of holes might remind us of diseases, infections, or decaying flesh, triggering a subconscious avoidance response. And in the age of social media, where trypophobia content circulates for clicks, the phobia can be unintentionally reinforced. But a clear cause has yet to be found. If you're feeling brave, here's how you can tackle trypophobia. 1, exposure therapy. Gradually and safely exposing yourself to triggering images in a controlled environment can desensitize your reaction over time. 2, good old CBT. It helps reframe the negative thoughts associated with the phobia. And finally, try some distraction techniques. Focusing on a grounding activity like squeezing a stress ball can redirect your anxiety. And remember, you're not weird or weak for feeling this way. It's just your brain doing what it thinks is best, even if it's a little overprotective. Now, for this next phobia, I want you to pick your favorite beach getaway. Picture yourself standing at the edge of the ocean, the waves crashing around your feet, thinking about how beautiful life is. Ah, serenity. For some of us. For others, pure terror. That's thalassophobia, or the fear of deep water. People with thalassophobia might feel anxious or overwhelmed just thinking about vast bodies of water. It's not just the water itself, it's the world of the unknown, which is actually pretty scary. Not much research has been done on thalassophobia, especially recently, but in 2020 and 2021, Chapman University surveyed over 1,000 adults in the United States and found that 24.7% of respondents were afraid of deep lakes and oceans. I also found a Reddit thread that has over 1.5 million members. Someone in that thread said this: "The ocean could be completely void of life and it would still be terrifying to me. It's an endless deep void that will take you, if it wants to, with currents. That just seems like a nightmare." Thalassophobia often develops from traumatic experiences. Maybe a near drowning incident or a scary encounter with marine life can leave a lasting impact. It also develops from evolutionary fear. Humans are land creatures, and open water presents real survival risks, like drowning or predators. And finally, pop culture influence. Shark movies like Jaws, Deep Blue Sea, or The Meg, they don't exactly help ease our nerves. If the thought of the ocean makes you feel like bolting, here's what can help. Ding, 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 CBT, again on our list. But don't forget CBT with exposure therapy. These are gold standards for phobias. Slowly confronting your fear, whether it's looking at pictures of the ocean or taking swimming lessons, can rewire your brain. 2, visualization techniques. Guided imagery can help you associate water with calmness instead of fear. And 3, some good old education. Understanding the realities of ocean safety can help dispel exaggerated fears. And remember, thalassophobia, like any phobia, doesn't make you weak. It's just your inner caveman reminding you that you're not a fish.